An inspiring life story is the account of a moment when an extraordinary person reveals the key that unlocked the door to their success. Among the many themes explored in these narratives are triumphs over adversity and the shattering of previously established boundaries. Not only can you as an individual motivate others to chase their dreams, but you can also provide them with the means they need to keep going strong once they reach their goals. Welcome to the Live and Learn podcast, where compelling stories are shared and inspiring messages are delivered. I'm your host, Walter Williams, and I thank you so much for taking the time to tune into the Live and Learn podcast. I'm excited about the conversation that I'm going to have with today's guest. But before we kick off our conversation, as I usually like to do, I like to start off by reading a poem that I wrote entitled Black Is. Black is thunder shaking the sky, an unbreakable force too bold to deny. Black is the rebel, the voice, the fight, breaking through ceilings, demanding the light. Black is brilliance, sharp as a blade, a rhythm, a language, a history engraved. Black is the heartbeat, steady and true, a universe spinning, infinite hues. Black is struggle, yet black is rise, a phoenix ascending with fire in its eyes. Black is a rival, yet forced to wait, forced first to create, yet last through the gate. Black is evidence, proof and demand, running the race with shackles in hand. Black is showing up, black is the key, yet locked out of doors, we built to be free. Black is untouchable, sacred, divine, a spectrum, a story, a legacy spine. Black is the weight and the wings in the wind, a past that won't break and a future that wins. Black is a walk, no shortcuts, no lanes, no maps to follow, just echoes of names. Black is the blueprint, the root, the guide, a story unfinished yet shining worldwide. I wrote that poem when I created my Black History Every Month poetry planner. And it was a poem that I felt was important for me to share because Black history, as we know, is a serious topic of discussion where a certain person in office is trying to get rid of a lot of the great things, the records of the greatness that we as Black people continue to build. But we, as always, stand tough and continue to fight those battles and will continue to let people know how great we are. And with that being said, I have the wonderful privilege of today meeting with the founder and owner of Every Dot Black, who was from Michigan a long time ago, but is now living and thriving in North Carolina. He was a mentee of Dr. Joe Dudley, and he's here to carry on his legacy in the age of entrepreneurship and here to give us a lot of his great wisdom. I've had some great conversations with him. And by the way, I do plan to attend your calls on Monday. It's been a lot going on, but I do intend to be a part of those calls. So be on the lookout. I will be making my presence. Welcome, Dr. Jimmy Davies. Thank you so much for being on. How are you today?
Well, I'm doing well, and thank you for having me as your guest today. I appreciate it.
No problem. I'm very grateful that you took some time out of your busy day to join me on this call and share some of your wisdom and your knowledge. So first, start by sharing with the audience, your mentorship or your connection with Dr. Jared Dudley. You've mentioned him a lot in our conversations, and also share with them the idea of your platform and what led to you starting Every Dot Black.
Okay, well, I'm going to start with Every Dot Black, and then I'll go on to Joe Dudley.
Okay.
It's all intertwined, actually, but I thought your poem was very appropriate for what we do as well. Like you said, as you mentioned, I grew up in Michigan, Flint, Michigan. Coming out of college, had no idea what I wanted to do. Zero. I thought I wanted to be a land surveyor, and I got midway through the program, and I told my counselor, "Look, I just need to graduate. How can I graduate? What's the fastest way?" Well, I worked for the Social Security Administration. I realized really early on that I didn't like working for someone else, and I started trying all types of businesses. I sold T-shirts. I sold hot dogs at the county fair. I tried real estate. I had a janitorial service. And when I had a janitorial service, a friend introduced me to a Macintosh computer. And that's when I knew that that was my calling. Created a computer training service, teaching people how to use computer software. This was like during the 90s when no one knew how to use anything. Well, fast forward in around 2015, I started thinking, well, what do I want to do? I'm always helping other companies. And that's when I met Joe Dudley of Dudley Beauty Products. And he always emphasized entrepreneurship, and he emphasized that we need to be self-reliant. We need to be the job makers instead of the job takers. And it just clicked for me that I need to use my tech skills to help entrepreneurs with their technology for their businesses. And you mentioned that continuing the legacy, we lost him last year, but for 40 years, he mentored entrepreneurs every week. It didn't matter what type of business you had. Like I say, he had a successful beauty care business, but he was also mentored by a man by the name of S.B. Fuller that a lot of people don't know about. But S.B. Fuller was born in 1905 in Louisiana, moved to Chicago, and with $25 created a business bringing in over $18 million a year.
Wow.
And this was during the 1940s and 50s during segregation. And even though he still did that, had literally thousands of people working for him, including Joe Dudley. He mentored entrepreneurs each week. Didn't matter what type of business you had. He mentored people like John Johnson of Jet Nebby magazine. He helped him get started. He mentored George Johnson of Afro Sheen and Ultra Sheen, and they weren't related, but he mentored him as well. He mentored Mary Kay of Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Oh, wow.
Mentored by a black man. Yeah, people don't realize that. And in fact, S.B. Fuller gave away a Cadillac to his top salesperson each year. And Mary Kay now or at least she did, gave away a pink Cadillac to her top salespeople. So that's where that came from.
Oh,
and he
wow.
also mentored Joe Dudley. So when S.B. Fuller passed away, Joe Dudley continued the legacy of helping entrepreneurs. And for about 10 years, he mentored me. And now we're trying to continue that legacy of helping entrepreneurs. But we have a huge advantage is that we are able to do it on Zoom. So we can bring in entrepreneurs and speakers from around the world every Monday night. And we look forward to having you come. I think you really enjoy it. And any of our listeners is open, free to the public. You don't have to be an official member of Every.Black to attend. We use that as to get you in the door so you can see what it's all about. And if you want to join later, that's fine. If not, that's okay too. But we have guest speakers each week on different topics about entrepreneurship. It could be anywhere from finance to branding to now with AI, some aspect of how to use AI in your marketing campaign. We network with one another, and we even read a book. We read books and we have a discussion. And that reading is continuing the legacy of Dudley and Fuller, because that's what they did in their meetings. They literally would read books about entrepreneurship, have discussions, learn from them, and network and guest speakers. So we're just continuing the same format, but our biggest advantage is that we're able to do it on Zoom and we're able to bring in people literally from all over the world. So anyone attending our meetings will meet other entrepreneurs from around the world, primarily of African descent, but every now and then we get full others. We welcome everybody, but we really try to emphasize the importance of people of the African diaspora to be entrepreneurs, to level that playing field, that economic playing field. We say, we're not a slavery. We're out of slavery. We can vote, but that dollar, we got to work on that economic equality. So that's what we believe in, and we believe that in order to do that, it has to be through entrepreneurship and technology. So I know that's a mouthful, but I was trying to give you the whole story of of what it's all about, what we do each week, and where it came from. So.
Well, no, that was very fascinating. I mean, and you shared the story with me when we first met a couple of weeks ago, and now hearing it told again, it's kind of like, I guess when we first met, it was mainly, just kind of getting to know you as a, potential guest. But now, now that we're kind of past that, you are a guest. And now I feel like, we have the opportunity to either be partners, colleagues, or, in some capacity to work together beyond this. It's fascinating to really learn how things started. One of the things that you told me in our conversation was that you were in a room and, you saw very few people, if any, of color, really, tapping in or diving into the technology age. And you said that made you feel some kind of way. And that was one of the things that, inspired you or motivated you to do this. Can you share that experience with the listeners?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, when like I said, a friend introduced me to a Macintosh computer, and I just knew right away I got to get into this. It's like I hadn't seen anything like it. At that time, DOS was out, but to have a graphical interface and point the icons and all of that, that's it. So I started a computer training service, and to tell people, I started a service. I didn't own a computer. Couldn't afford one at the time, and I didn't know how to use one, but I knew how to get into it. So what I did, I would promote the training service that I was starting, and if someone hired me, I'd get the book. I could afford the book, and I'd read the book, and then I'd learn on their machine. But it grew very fast because, again, I just came along at the right time. Timing it could be everything. So during the early 90s, no one knew how to use Microsoft Word or Excel. We take it for granted now. But at the time, this stuff was brand new. Photoshop, Illustrator, you name it. Even just having a web page, that was like that whole concept of a web page.
Yeah.
And companies and government agencies were just hungry for it. And so they were just hiring me. Like I could finish one job. Before I finish one job, somebody else wants training. Got to the point where I was servicing, I had to hire other instructors. I was servicing 40 cities in 12 states, going to city to city to city, teaching people how to use software. But that's where, again, I wasn't seeing people of color in my classes for the most part. And so I'm telling my friends and family about this computer thing, this internet and all of it. And you see the glaze come over their eyes, like what are you talking about? And I realized, like, we're not, this companies are using this technology and we don't even know it exists. Not in all cases, there's some folks who are doing some great things, but too often we're not aware of what's available. And so that's what I say that really bothered me. And that's when I met Joe Dudley, and I saw what he was doing, has been doing for like 30 years before I met him, helping other entrepreneurs. It just clicked for me that that's what I need to try to do as well, but really focus on technology and entrepreneurship, that combination, because they say that no one will ever pay you what you're worth. Right. They will only pay you what you're worth to them.
Right. Yeah.
And so if you really want your worth, you've got to have your own, and not depend on someone else, especially in this time when people are losing their jobs left and right.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So exactly. So anyway, that's where that came from, is that that was my why. I just wanted to make a difference and try to make a difference in my best way I can. And I believe that we all have talents and skills unique to ourselves. And I just identified that being able to learn how to use the technology and also teach it with patience, that was my skill. I just felt like I needed to do that as best I could. So.
Wow. Yeah, like I said, that was one of the biggest things that I took away, from our conversation when we initially met, was how, you said it really bothered you, not seeing seeing that many people of color really be vested in technology, because what technology is today, everybody and their mother and cousins want to know the next big thing, or at least want to have the next big thing, technology related, thing in their hands. So to know that, things were like that once upon a time when you first started to what it is now, that's a whole different world now.
It sure is.
So you mentioned that, you came to the realization that you wanted to have your own, and you just mentioned a minute ago, to get your worth, you got to have your own. Can you share a story, or I guess an experience that you had that was an obstacle that led you to where you got to where you are now? That was like your biggest obstacle overcome or met that made you, that you look back on to this day and say, I'm thankful that I went through that, because it would not have, if not for that, I wouldn't be who I am today. What experience would you say that was?
Well, again, I think when I started out, I didn't have a computer. I think at the time, the Mac cost around $3,000. I didn't have it to buy one. But two things that our parents, I have a sister, just the two of us, our parents always instilled in us is, one, you can achieve anything you want to if you're willing to work for it and to get an education. And so I just believed that even though I didn't have that computer, that I could do it. And I think the one obstacle that really made a difference was that once I realized that everyone needed this training, and at the time I lived in Virginia before moving to North Carolina. Once I realized everyone needed this training, I realized I needed to branch out somehow beyond the Newport News, Hampton area where I lived at the time. And so in order to do that, I wanted to provide training in other cities. Like I said, eventually we were providing training in 40 cities. But I didn't have, again, like getting the financing to do that. There were two computer magazines. One was Macworld and others Mac User. They were Macintosh magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And I approached them both and said, I'd like to buy your subscription list to everyone in the state of South Carolina, North Carolina. And they sell those lists. And people don't realize that when you get a magazine, sometimes you get the magazine cheap because they sell your name to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so they sold me the list of people getting Macintosh computer magazines in those states. And the other thing is that the printing of literally thousands of flyers and the mailing of thousands of flyers and the purchasing that list cost me about $4,000. So I said, well, I sold my car at that time that I had in order to raise the money.
Oh, wow.
To buy that list and send out thousands of flyers. And it worked. And the other thing I did is that I didn't want to send all the flyers to one city. I would do 5 cities at a time. So if one city didn't go or I didn't get a good response, the other 2 or 3 or 4 would carry. And that's exactly what happened. So I spread the risk. And within a year, I was able to buy myself another car, a brand new car, actually, and moved into my first home because it worked. And then from that point, I started having to hire instructors because, again, the demand was insane because everybody wanted the training from large corporations. And I'm talking about big companies, General Electric was one, and NASA. I was at NASA for 2 years teaching people how to use software. Did training for the Army, did training for Lockheed. A lot, there's too many companies I can't even imagine. I can't remember now. But actually, I've got a list of them. And at the time, I really wasn't counting, but eventually I looked back to see how many people did I actually train. And I figure about 10,000 conservatively, that's the number. We trained, I know, over 10,000 people on how to use computers, every day, teaching people how to use just different software applications coming out. And each year the software was changing. New applications coming out all the time, and some are going away because maybe the competitor beat them out. So it was an ongoing thing. And then I started specializing in database development, so couldn't keep up with everything. So I became a FileMaker Pro database developer, helping companies manage large amounts of data. So,
okay.
But anyway, again, I can get started, so you have to slow me down, just interrupt if you have another question, because
no worries.
Still get passionate about this stuff. So
yeah, no, I mean, I definitely appreciate you sharing that story. That's that's a very compelling story that you shared about how you sold your car, to invest in, your business and what it led to. That's something that, that's a huge sacrifice. I don't think I could find a person that would be willing to do that if they were in that position. They would try to find all kinds of ways to make it happen. But you believed in your idea and your venture enough to sell your car and invest in it. So That's remarkable. So kudos to you for that.
Well,
So before I get into the spiritual relief segment where I share a verse and my thoughts on it, can you because you mentioned about AI and how AI is pretty much growing as we speak. It's rapidly growing and the use of it is pretty much in everything now.
yeah.
You had said in your initial email to me that you wanted people to see the value in it, and I can't remember word for word or verbatim what you said, but what I took from it is some people are hesitant or nervous about using it because, a lot of the times people see right through it. You got companies who are getting these softwares or, these different systems where they screen to make sure you're not, using AI or Chat GPT or whatever for all of the things that you do. So what was the message you wanted to share with the audience around that?
Well, yeah, it's not going away. And like I say, being in this computer field since literally 1988, this is the biggest thing I've seen uh, with AI, and it's not going away. We have to jump in and learn how to use it. It's game changer. It's a time. It reduces time. So what might take you a month or weeks to create, you can literally create in minutes or even seconds if with the right prompt, with the right questions. It literally accesses information from around the world instantly. It doesn't matter almost any question or problem that you have, it can give you some insight or answers immediately. And so that's a game changer. I've heard it said that there's going to be two types of businesses in the future. I'm not sure if I shared this with you, but those that use AI and those that are out of business. those are the two. And so it's that big of a deal. And so we just can't be afraid of it. And I tell people just start with one application. ChatGPT was kind of the first one that kind of really came on the scene as a generative AI application. But really, we've been using versions of artificial intelligence for quite a while. I tell people, like, if you watch something on YouTube or Netflix and it'll bring up the next show or the next YouTube, issue or episode based on your past history. Or if you talk to Siri or Alexa, that those are versions of AI. But this new version of AI is called generative AI, where it literally can generate new content that never existed before based on your question and based on what's out there, what's available. But we have to be aware of some things, though, because just like our society is biased, AI can be biased because the information we're pulling in is from the general society, right?
Right.
And so if the misinformation is out there, I'll give you an example. There was someone had AI write a story about a little boy and a dog, and they said the dog was a collie and I forget the name of the dog, and then they said the same thing except this an African American boy, and now all of a sudden the collie turned into a pit bull, based on AI.
Really good way to say that.
Yeah, it's like, so anyway, that's an example of the bias that's built into AI. So we need to be aware of that. The other thing we need to be aware of is that, again, AI is not necessarily based on the truth. It's based on the information it's pulling from. So that some things like that, or it could even what's called hallucinate. It can give you some off the wall answer. However, it doesn't seem to be doing that much anymore. I mean, they've really refined it to the point. I do want to give a shout out to another company called Latimer. Latimer is a Black-owned company by a man by the name of, I think it's John Passmore. It's an AI application or AI platform, and he purposely tries to address the biases that are in the racism that's in AI, or can be, in your response. So that's Latimer. Just wanted to give a shout out to him. I don't know him personally. I've met him on a Zoom call, but I don't know him personally. But I just applaud his effort to address that in AI. But yeah, I tell people, don't be afraid of it. pick one, jump in, and just give it a try. You'll find that once you start to use it, it's a game changer. I don't know how to put it. It really
Yeah.
is. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the biggest thing with AI is, like you said, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that the most important thing really is when you use AI, just use it responsibly. Don't
Yeah.
like get it to do everything for you. It can be a helpmate, it can assist you, but you got to make sure you read through what the AI is producing. Don't just ask it a question and then print it out and take it with you, or save it and then share it. You still want to
Right.
go through it because, as someone who works in risk management, I know the ins and outs about having to go back and checking everything 2, 3, 4 times before you share it, submit it, or publish it. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So the biggest takeaway I take from it is, like you said, it's not going anywhere. You might as well go ahead and invest and dive into it. Just make sure you do it responsibly.
Exactly. I agree completely. And you're right. It's a tool. But it shouldn't be the end all be all.
Right.
But you have to, realize, is this saying or expressing what I want to share? For me, it often, almost always, gives me ideas that I didn't think of. So I'll ask it to, give me an outline or whatever it is I'm working on, and I'll give it some, in my prompt. I'll give it some specifics. The more specific you can be, the better the response. But usually, even still, it comes back with like, "Oh, I didn't think of that part," So, let me address that issue. So
Right.
but you still have to make sure that you're the final say on how you use it, and to use it responsibly as well.
Yep. Well, I definitely appreciate you sharing that information with us, and it's definitely something to think about and something for the listeners to reflect on. In whatever industry, whatever work they're doing, because like you said, it's here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to go ahead and segue over to the spiritual relief segment, where I share a verse, and today's verse that I'm sharing or actually it's 3 verses. It's from Job chapter 11, verses 5-7. And the Bible verse reads, "If only God would speak and open his lips against you, he would show you the secrets of wisdom, because there are 2 sides. Then you would know that God is punishing you less than you should get. Can you find out the deep things of God? Can you find out how far the all-powerful can go?"
Mm.
When I read this scripture, what it said to me is that we sometimes have to look at the nature of what we're being held accountable for, as opposed to the repercussions, or what we're being given for those actions. My platform is all about self-reflection, and I feel as though this Bible verse speaks directly to reflecting on the things that you've done, as opposed to the things that have happened to you as a result of it. A lot of the times we look at, oh, we're suffering this, oh, we're dealing with that, but we don't look within and seek what God is trying to tell us, or what he's trying to show us, based on the actions that took place.
Yeah, and I as you read that, my thought was that, and I truly believe this: the Lord has given us all unique skills and talents.
Yep.
And if we're not using that to glorify the kingdom, to help our fellow man, then that's almost, to me, it's like almost sinful. That why aren't we using those skills, talents, whatever they may be, to the best of our ability, if that's what's given to us? If sort of like the story I'm sure you've heard, where he's given the 3 people 3 talents, and one buries it in the sand, and other uses it, but the one that buries it, he takes it away because he's not doing anything with it. But the one that's using it, he gives more to them. So is that's how I feel about it. It's like, we need to, each of us needs to use what we've been given, our God-given talents, to help others. That Okay, that's about it. That's it right there.
Well, no, I definitely appreciate you sharing that, and that actually leads me to share with people that I actually wrote a devotional called Embracing Your Role in the Kingdom. And what it's about is pretty much like you said, all of us have responsibilities and have talents and, experiences that we can use to share and teach God's message, on the things that he's shown us, that he's done with us, through us, and for us. And that's what this is all about. It's about us all being teachers in the kingdom of Christ for our brothers and sisters. So I appreciate you mentioning that. That was almost like,
Right.
a way of helping me promote my devotional. So I appreciate that.
Sure.
So the last segment that we do here is a little bit more heartfelt. It's called the random ranks. And what we usually do is I will share with you a subject where you can give me your top three of, a certain subject. It could be related to today's discussion, or I could pick something random. So I decided to go ahead and do something related to what we discussed today, because I felt like our conversation was very fascinating. And I think a lot of people can benefit from what you shared and what we discussed. So what I want you to share is, what do you think are the top three industries or areas that can benefit most from AI in today's climate?
Wow. The top three industries. Well, I think the future is definitely robotics and AI. Some of the things that's being done with robots and AI, it's amazing. My concern is that, the movie Terminator is like, my concern is that the military is going to be producing literally Terminators. So I don't know what this world's going to be like in that regard. But I think that's one. I think also education. I mean, there's no reason why we have the world of knowledge at our fingertips on your phone. I mean, it's in your hand right now. So anything you want to learn, it's available to you. You hear about, I mentioned S.B. Fuller. He was self-taught. He only had 18 months of formal education, but he was able to educate himself and create a business, become a millionaire, helping others along the way, helping other thousands of people along the way. So I think education, the future is robotics and AI. Oh, it's a good question. I think just also, if we really think about it, I think that each of us can learn to use AI to just develop or to produce a living for ourselves. Combining that with entrepreneurship. I keep going back to the entrepreneurship thing, and it doesn't matter what type of business you have. I think that these are tough questions. Actually, we said three things, but I think using it, and that kind of falls in line with education. Fuller and Dudley, I would say readers are leaders. So if you need to read to learn from mistakes of others and don't repeat them, and I think AI can help you do that as well. So.
Yeah, I was definitely, when you were answering that question, I was waiting for you to mention entrepreneurship for sure. But I think, like you said earlier, the thing with AI is really, with a lot of things that are new, when new ideas, new developments are brought out, people have their fears. People get uncomfortable with change, and sometimes we just have to go with it because the world is changing every day in some kind of way. You hear something new coming out. So I feel as though pretty much I feel like every industry really can benefit and utilize AI in some capacity. It's just a matter of, again, using it responsibly. Don't get it to answer every single question or to try to solve every single problem. Use it to help with the problems, but make sure you go back and, properly use the information, because you still have to educate yourself.
Exactly.
You can't use AI to substitute your brain, because it's not, or substitute for the things that you should know in your knowledge. So I think, again, you said it, there are going to be two types of businesses that use it and businesses that are pretty much out of business. So I appreciate, again, I appreciate that. I think you really open not just the listeners' eyes and ears to a lot of things, but me personally. So again, I'm going to be connecting and joining these calls on Monday. How can the listeners connect and learn more about Every Dot Black and how they can get connected with you and your business?
Sure. Well, your poem was about black, and I meant to mention also the dot black comes from the dot black domain represents the best of the best, like black tie, little black, judge's black robe, black dress, that type of thing. So I'll tell people they didn't create the dot black domain for black folks. But you can reach us at every dot black, EVERY dot BLACK, or my email address is Jimmy, JIMMY at every dot black. And our phone number is 919-265-8045. That's 919-265-8045. And you said something also. You said we can't be afraid of change. And the one quote that I have is that I say that change is, whenever there's change, there's opportunity. Mm-hmm. Since change is constant, there's always opportunity. So it doesn't matter who's in office. There's opportunity, but we have to look for it maybe a little harder, but it's out there. So, right.
Well, I appreciate that. And, voices like yours, mine, and many other inspirational people out here are the voices that we need to continue to hear, continue to lean on, and, continue to celebrate. I have people like you and others on my podcast and on my platform not only because I want your voice and your words to encourage and uplift those who are listening, but also to celebrate you because it takes a lot to do the things that you did, to, make the sacrifices that you made to get to where you are. And, you're an example of, someone who could be trying or fighting those battles of trying to get into entrepreneurship or overcome a setback or a challenge. So, again, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your stories. And I look forward to, our connection and, our connection will go beyond this episode. I'll definitely continue to work with you, partner with you in any capacity.
That sounds great. I appreciate it. And I feel the same way. I don't know, some people I meet and you just feel that instant connection. And I felt that when we spoke a few weeks ago, and I even feel it now. So I think, we're going to be in touch with one another. See, we can help each other progress with what we're doing.
I appreciate that. And thank you all for tuning in to the Live and Learn podcast. As always, you can reach me at deepdiscussion.org, and you can email me at thriveforward@deepdiscussion.org. And if you would like to learn more about my trainings and my workshops, feel free to shoot me an email. You can also contact me at 443-744-5406. Until next time, stay inquisitive, stay curious, and continue to approach every adversity as an opportunity for you to become better than you were before you entered it. Take care and God bless.